Peace, warriors. Peace, family. This is Dr. Sadiki Che Baye, the host of the Men's Room Talk Show, coming to you every Tuesday evening at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, live from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Family, this is the place where you're going to hear the voices of our warriors, our men, our protectors, our providers, that will make sure that everything is balanced. So we are going to definitely make sure that you hear the voices of our heads, the black man, the one who is deemed to make sure that everything is in divine order. So family, today we have a special guest, that has been doing what he's been doing for many years. And I'm not going to delay any longer. I'm just going to give it right to you. This is our warrior, Grandmaster Hassim Jordan. Welcome.
Oh, it is a pleasure and an honor to be in this space, occupying the same space as many warriors behind the screen and maybe even watching the screen. It's an honor.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you, brother, for taking the time to come out. We really want to acknowledge you. And this is what this show is all about, acknowledging the black man, the one who's doing positive things in our communities, the ones who are fulfilling their purpose, the ones who are upholding the community.
Yes, indeed.
And we want to make sure, brother, that this is something that we can call our own and we don't need nobody's approval.
Absolutely.
So we're going to go for what we know, brother. We're going to honor you today. We're going to highlight you today. And we're going to have you up front. And I would like to ask you this, brother. I know you're a grandmaster. Before I ask you what is a grandmaster, I would like for you to give us a little background on coming up through your journey, your family and your education and so forth. Just give us a little general background on how you became the warrior that you are.
Ooh, yeah, and it was quite a journey. Yeah, of course, born and raised in Philadelphia, PA. As a matter of fact, back in the day, not too long ago, I was born here actually in my grandmother's home, I believe, and later taken to what was at one time Philadelphia General Hospital. No longer exists now. We got a whole lot of different facilities down in the downtown area now. But grew up in basically in North Philadelphia, and got interested in martial arts, I would guess, about 12 years old. 12 years old. And interestingly enough, martial arts wasn't, of course, the only thing that I was interested in. My family on my father's side being musicians. And so that is also one of the things that I've been privileged to add to my life's journey is music as well as martial arts. The age of 12 coming up and just kind of, experiencing all different types of martial arts forms from, different cultures and whatnot. And it really sparked an interesting interest in me. But one thing that I did not see in the beginning of my journey, and I was somewhat oblivious to, was that there were, African American martial artists in every art form and so on, but I never saw the figurehead of martial arts in any martial arts culture where there was an African American figurehead. At that age, coming from 12 in my teen years of coming into martial arts, it was always someone who was of Asian descent. And even though being in Philadelphia, you're going to run into a whole lot of martial artists that are African American cultured, but they were always referencing someone other than themselves as a figurehead. But anyway, that being the case, I think that they were supposed to be something that I noticed at an early age. I got into all several different art forms. Like there was kung fu and Okinawan karate and taekwondo and a little of this, a little of that. And I always was engaged in it, but maybe like maybe to a different degree, where you have some who would dedicate themselves to a specific art form and become more inclined to that art form, and even to the extent of, I would say, mimicking the culture in a way, And it didn't kind of sit well with me at an early age, which later on I really did figure it out that I would never, ever be able to accomplish being a Chinese master or a Japanese master or a Korean master. It just was not a part of my DNA structure, So coming up, after, like 12 years old and getting more and more proficient in my martial arts training, it would be more, even more so, a journey of sort of shying away from the traditionalist martial arts type of genre and getting more interested in, there's got to be something more to this than, me being the one that's paying homage to Gosi Yamaguchi of Japan or so-and-so of China and so on and so forth, So there's got to be something else. So I sort of made an executive decision on my own, before I even really came into the understanding of the origin of martial arts. And I think maybe around between the age of 17 and 19, I made this transitional evolutionary process, I would say, where I got more inclined towards just sort of structuring what it was that I've accumulated. And I kind of accumulated a little bit at an early age, but I wanted to make it more applicable to myself, more practical in application or in demonstration or necessity, or we could call for it, you know. So I kind of played with all of the different art forms that I knew and tried to get the practicality, and it made it something that was basically just for me. So I think maybe around the age of 19, for sure, 19, my uncle, who was known as Sheikh Muhammad Akbar, he used to watch me, you know, train and, you know, practice, you know, martial arts. And he was very, very enthusiastic about my journey about, you know, being in martial arts. And he would question me from period to period about, you know, my training. You know, well, where did you learn that? Who did you? Well, you know, I did see you go see Yamaguchi and so on and so forth. I said, well, he said, hold it. Wait a minute. Hold on. So I noticed that you always talk about these guys. He said, but who else did you learn from that you could say you can attribute this to somebody that's more of your culture? You know, I was kind of a little dumbfounded, you know, like, wow, you know, that's quite a question now, you know, had no idea. But now, mind you, I'm still on this journey of trying to sort of restructure what I know into a practical sense for myself, you know, which even at that point, I had no intentions on teaching anything to anybody. I just wanted something that worked for me. So he said to me, well, look, I want you to come down to Hutchinson Street off of Lehigh Avenue. It's a boxing gym there. And this boxing gym down there at Lehigh and Hutchinson, on Hutchinson Street, by the way, he said that there was a brother there who was doing some research on martial arts. He said, I want you to come down, maybe meet the brother. He's having a book signing. And I said, okay, I'll come down and see if I get, you know, at the time of year after training or whatever it was. Went down to Hutchinson Street and knocked on this metal door. It was very secure. You had to go all the way up this flight of steps to get into the area. And needless to say, you know, I'm still sort of like unaware of the kind of atmosphere that was had in this boxing gym. It was very secure-minded brothers, by the way. So I'm knocking on the door, try to get through the door. The brother opens the door. He's sort of intimidating. I'm still a martial artist. He was intimidating. So yeah, how can I help you? I said, well, I'm looking for my uncle, Sheikh Muhammad Akbar. He invited me here to the book signing and, you know, to talk about, you know, martial arts and so forth. So that I didn't have any idea at the time that the brother who had wrote this book on African martial arts was doing all of this research and was getting this book signed because it had been, you know, a pretty prominent book. I do have it. I should have brought that book out in the archive over there. But anyway, it was about 35, 38 pages, you know, a very small book, but it was so powerful. The content was direct and powerful. So I asked the gentleman if I could come up. He said, no, well, you couldn't come up because there's no more room. So he said, I'll go get your uncle for you. He had my uncle come down the steps and he had this book in his hand. And he said, well, listen, I wanted you to come specifically because you're a martial artist and you were telling me about some of the history of what you know about martial arts and reference. I just want to tell you, he just came out blank and just said to me, your history is wrong. And I'm, kind of like a little shocked at, how he put it. But he said, but I just want you to read this book. I want you to read this book. And when you finish reading it, give it back to me. Now, he was supposed to give me the book. So I said, well, why can't I have the book? He said, well, they don't have any more. This was the last one, and he had signed it. So when you finish with it, give it back to me. So I was 19 years old. I took the book home, and I read the book. And of course, needless to say, he tested me on the book. I read the book and just found out all kinds of information from a 38-page book about the history of martial arts, the age of it, where it was originally manifested, how it traveled and got manifested through all of these different countries, from Western Africa, Eastern Africa, Northeast Africa, Himalayas, China, Korea, Japan, Tibet first, actually, Tibet, then China, Japan, and Korea. But it was fascinating to have all of that information given to me. And it just took me completely out of my comfort zones and encouraged me to do more study and research about the history of martial arts. And since you asked me about the journey, as soon as I start talking about this here, about martial arts and the journey of it and the age, it becomes a whole book within itself. So, but needless to say, after I read it, I found out, certain key points about martial arts, of it being over 350,000 years. That's our history. How it was not originally an art form that was conducive of fighting. It was more like a ceremonial dance competition from different tribes. And during this time, we were not people who looked at warring with each other. We wanted to see who was the best creative dancers, and who had the prominent warriors in reference to dance and movement. And we did use what would look like spears or staffs and things of this nature, and all kinds of other paraphernalia within the dance. And these dances were so high energy, so competitive in nature, and the proximity of this dance, some of these warriors would actually come out hurt, and it wasn't the intent, but that's what would happen. So, to make a very long story just slightly less longer, it was found out that it could evolve into something more than just a dance. And which is we could say Kupagani Ngumi, or the art of war, was one of the principal, let's say, names of how African dance sort of evolved into a fighting form. The rest is history. If you talk about Mansa Musa, Shaka Zulu, and so on and so forth, and all the others who were not only great strategists, but highly powerful warriors and instructors of these art forms, and some of the warriors were second to none, which kind of makes you wonder how the Atlantic slave trade could even come to be. But fire sticks was another, problem, and we ain't talking about Amazon, So, but yeah, at 19, I've gotten all of that information, and it was like the snowball effect. Running down the hill, it just got bigger and bigger, and it made me realize that after doing the research about African martial arts, there was just another contribution that we made to the planet, to humanity, that was sort of swept under the rug. We have, in some martial arts cultures, they will now, I would say maybe 10, 15 years ago, they're really just starting to admit that we had a great part in teaching them these art forms. They were so fascinated and overwhelmed at the effectiveness and beauty of the art. They incorporated it within their own cultures. They incorporated it in their monasteries. Is how you got the Buddhist and the Shaolin and so on and so forth. Let's call it what it is. We did that. We introduced martial arts to so many different degrees on so many different levels to so many different peoples on the planet. And that is one of the reasons why I had took it upon myself to say, well, I'm not going to, indulge myself in the cultural aspect of martial arts. And that way it would be like moving backwards. So instead, what I would want to do was attribute what I knew and what I was learning, let's say, back to its origin, and put it back into place for where it originated. And in my earlier, martial arts days, when I was really structuring and forming this martial arts form, I would get a lot of flack from, traditionalists. And, you can't do that. You can't start your own martial arts form. You can't start your own, art form. That's impossible. You can't do that. And I would always ask why. The only answer that I could get was that, well, you're not from one of the families. I said, well, wait a minute. First of all, they're not my family. And I have more of a right to establish a martial arts form or manifest or create my own martial arts form because of not just because of coming into the understanding of it, because it is a genetic right. That's my family. I get it from the source, if you really want to talk about where it really should come from. So it was not me taking things from other people and saying, oh, this is African martial arts. No, this is me trying to revert back to the origin of it and saying, no, this is martial arts. This is the origin. This is where the real origin comes from.
Well,
they only have if you talk to, I'm sorry.
Hold that thought, brother.
Okay.
Real quickly, how did it get away from us and we give the credit to the Orientals?
Oh, just like everything else, there was a systematic sabotage. Systematic sabotage is really something else. When someone really wants to take credit for something that they did not do, where I think that it's always best to give credit where it's due, and you benefit greatly, even more so, from knowing that you've picked up the banner of something and expounded on it and made it, something that worked for you. I'm not going to say better because better is only relevant, So I think it got away from us in a lot of ways. Sir?
That's what you call honoring.
Yes, absolutely. That's absolutely correct. Yeah. They had these monasteries in Tibet and in China and even in Japan that were fashioned out of caves. Well, they were caves. Their monasteries were caves in some instances. And throughout these caves, they did very well with the interior structure of it and made them beautiful, made them magnificent. And they have in those caves hieroglyphs. And in these hieroglyphs, they have the Buddhas, Tibet, China, and Japan. They have these Buddhas. Is it ironic that every Buddha in every one of those monasteries are the same color, black, with twisties, big nose and big lips? And supposedly this was the original hue or skin color of the Buddha, as far as we know. Now, there's history that proves that when martial arts was introduced to these cultures, that they were introduced by individuals that were of that hue. But these hieroglyphs tell the story of these travelers actually teaching martial arts to these cultures. I don't really know what made them so afraid to make the truth so clear. Maybe they would feel less than important. There's no intent for insult. But how could you not give the proper accolades to someone who has given you so much, and honor and respect for what has been given to you by acknowledging it? But instead, all of that credit, all of that history was concealed. And we were made to believe that they were the progenitors of these art forms, and which they were not.
Can I ask you a question?
That
since you're on that topic, since you're on that there, well, to my understanding, the original Chinese were us. The original, whoever they were us. All of that other came later.
Yeah. That's right. They came. They came later.
They claimed it and made it theirs.
Yeah. Something popped in my head to as an example of a people that would come into a culture and see the culture rich. They see the culture rich. They see the benefit of it. They see how it benefits the whole society of whatever that culture is. And as opposed to being those who would say, hey, well, look, this is a beautiful thing for that, and I want to be an advocate for this culture. I want to be able to help and do this. I want to, make sure that this gets known, that this is a beautiful thing. But instead, it becomes something that they adopt and then make it as if that it was something that they did themselves. I'm trying to find a kind way to put it without bringing out a whole bunch of insults, but it's very difficult. And what I know when I do it, it sort of limits my vocabulary.
Hey, brother, go for what you know, brother. Just tell it like it is.
Yeah, So it's just like the nature of a colonizer. It's not the area where you're originally from. It's not where you originally lived, but you moved into an area, into a space, and then you called it your own. Forget the culture that was there. Forget what was established there, the beauty and how everyone had their established unity, community, and all of the things that had the proper balance for everything that was good for that, that society. You want to come and make someone believe that you can do better, but usually it ends up being a lot worse, and not being something that manifests the original intent, the original establishment for that society, So now we have, instead of Kupagan and Gumi, we have karate, we have kung fu, we have Hung Gar, we have Wing Chun, we have so on and so forth, which, by the way, the sister Victoria, she mentioned that my art form was karate, but no, it's not karate. We still use the term martial arts. For martial arts is more encompassing, and it actually sort of denotes that everything that has a fighting technique, including boxing, is actually a martial arts. Wrestling, kick fighting, boxing, whatever it is, it's all within the martial arts genre, the whole martial arts. So that was another thing that sort of, helped to, in some way, change my direction and thinking that, I was going to definitely be a master of a Chinese or Japanese art. It just wasn't going to happen. So what I did, though, at the age of 19, after doing some research, and this research really came at an early age for me, and it sort of increased as I got older and had more understanding and became more of an adult. I figured that if I was going to redirect my understanding about martial arts and redirect my philosophy about martial arts, then I had to have a name that was more condescending to the art form. And at this early age of really starting to work on my own art form, which, I caught a lot of feedback and flack. I even had one of my old instructors ready to go to duel with me, you know what I mean? And that was an interesting thing. Needless to say, he backed down, of course. So, and he was quite good. But as time went on, I named the art form, and the name of the art form now, as I see my picture froze up there a little bit. Can you still hear me, sir? Yes. Okay.
I hear you.
Okay. And I named my art form Seiku Chinyelu, which is Swahili. It means invincible warriors. But this is not invincible warriors for the individual that practices it. This name is descriptive of the culture and the warriors that promulgated Kukugan and Gumi as a whole, all of martial arts. So I called it Seiku Chinyelu as a tribute to the warriors that actually evolved the martial arts fighting forms.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. So yes. So we have 5 stages and principles in Seiku Chinyelu. It's very interesting having put this art form together at such an early age. I am now 63. Wait a minute. Yes, 63 now. I had to think about that one. 63. And, I guess from the age of 19, I've already been into martial arts since the age of 12. But from the age of 19 up to now, the constant evolutionary process of this art form, I'm very grateful that it's pretty much served me quite well. And, I've been blessed with an aptitude to be able to put things into perspective from the exercise format to the curriculum of the art form itself. And, yeah. And, a lot of people, they had their little doubts about it. Hey, man, you started this art form, like I said, you ain't even from none of these families. You know what I mean? And listen, I got my own family, and when I'm done with it, you'll know it. And lo and behold, after all of those years, I was inducted into the Philadelphia Historical Martial Arts Society for recognition. Yes. And so, thank you. And so I, even before that, I felt that what it was that I did in terms of contributing something back to our own culture was good enough to me to say that it was legitimate.
Wow.
You know, because it was legitimate in the first place that Kupagani and Gumi came about as an African martial arts for us in the first place. You know, so the legitimacy of it. Oh, these are beautiful pictures here. The legitimacy of it is, you know, I think pretty much speaks for itself even now at this point.
No, well, let me ask you this, Warrior.
Yes, sir.
I hear this tremendous title, Grandmaster. What is a Grandmaster, and what is the qualifications of having that tremendous title, that crown there? What are the qualifications, and what is a Grandmaster?
So let me tell you. You know, I never really considered myself as a grandmaster. I was actually given that title by other grandmasters and professors of the arts. It had been so long because, you know, at that age of 19, I had given up all black belts, and I didn't want to associate myself with any particular type of ranking system or system that said that I can only move this far when I'm really here, you know, or, you know, well, when you can't move to this point, you know, until we say it's time for you to move to this point. You know, so I gave up all of the belts, you know, and just worked on my art form and became, you know, blessed with the prominence to do so. You know, there was one individual who taught Okinawan Kempo, for which I had earned a Renchi rating certificate, which is like a 7th degree black belt, some maybe 15, 20 years ago. And he said that the only reason why he couldn't give me a higher one is because he couldn't rate me above himself. It was his art form. So one day I was working with his black belts on some fighting techniques because they were going to be in a tournament. And this tournament required for them to fight and to be, you know, they wanted to win all of these trophies and whatnot. So anyway, I was warming up in there, and I think I had already earned the certificate, so I was training and, you know, warming up. And a couple of the masters at that particular point said, wow, you know, if you keep training like this, you're going to be a master in no time. I mean, of course, my head was about that big at first, but then when they said it, you know, but I came back down to where, you know, I belong, you know. So, you know, even after that, some years went, you know, by 10, 15 years and so on and so forth. And I didn't really realize that I was at master status because the art form that I created, it didn't have that kind of ranking system. So all of the things that I knew and was practicing and whatnot, you know, I according to their ranking systems, I didn't really understand that it was their master levels. You know, I ran into a couple of other grandmasters that I've known before they were grandmasters. A couple of martial arts professors, and there was one in particular who I really had a good friendship with, Dr. Moses Powell. Dr. Moses Powell was the one who sort of started the Sanukis Rule system. It was still based on jujitsu, but he named it Salukis Ru, and he turned it into something quite fantastic. He used to teach CIA agents and FBI and so on and so forth, tactics and whatnot. And he has, even in Philadelphia, quite a few. And in the surrounding areas, Delaware, maybe Maryland, he has quite a few masters and even grandmasters and soke. Soke's in the Japanese sense is those who really sort of started their own martial arts form, a soke. But the difference between me and them in terms of what a soke, I'm going to get to trying to answer this question about grandmaster. But a soke is really sort of above a grandmaster. What makes a grandmaster is once you become a master and you teach a number of black belts, these black belts, they become masters. And these masters that you've taught have black belts that are on the verge of becoming masters. Now they're masters, and that's like you now would be a grandmaster because you've produced masters. You see, and so I have, and the thing about this, my art form is still relatively young. I've only really produced maybe 4 masters by my choice because I really took this art form seriously, and they have to be able, by my own standards, and I mean my own standards as in my own productivity, my own ability, my own capacity, my understanding about the art form, how I teach it, how I articulate it, and how it's, established. They have to have very similar criteria. You have a lot of martial arts forms where they'll go outside of the criteria, which is fine as long as they can capitalize on that criteria and make it something worthy, you see. So just to back it up a little bit, soke is one who actually manifests an art form without it having been taught to him. That would be me. But Grandmaster's fine. And even a couple of other of the martial arts masters figured that professor would be even better.
So where do you rank?
Well, yeah. Well, according to the Philadelphia Martial Arts Society and the martial arts professor and grandmasters, they say that I'm both professor and grandmaster. But me,
wow.
Yeah, but me, I say I'm.
That means you all that.
No.
Brother, I know you are modest and all that, but you have to be.
I like to think that with this art form called Sekou Chinyelu, which is a dedication to our ancestors for having be the originators of martial arts, I would consider myself a professor and grandmaster in that. Everything else, they can have it. I respect it. I love all martial arts, whatever it is that they do. It's fantastic. All martial arts, I accept and enjoy it. But for me, this art that I created, for dedication to our ancestors of Kupagan and Gumi, this is enough for me,
Wow.
Yeah. So that's my contribution to our ancestors, our parents, So when they ask me what martial arts family did you have the right to start the first one, one.
That's being extremely honorable, and like you said before, there is nothing better than original. Original is the thing where everything else comes after.
Everything comes after.
Yeah, so you honoring the ancestors, brother. Soon as you said that comes to mind, like I usually share with people, that we are the ancestors having a human experience.
Yes.
So we need to connect with the spiritual ancestors because we're going to transform into that or transition into that soon. You know what I mean? And we have to be really honorable for them to be there for us. We can't take that for granted.
No, you can't. It's definitely an honor. As a matter of fact, the 5 stages of Sekou Chinyelu and the 5 principles, they're one and the same. What we do when we open the class, we have Kwisi, Changa, Sekou, Dia, and Chinyelu. Kwisi means strength. I mean, in the Swahili, it has a couple of different connotations, but we prefer that one, strength. And Changa, it means like firmness or hardness. Sekou means fighter or warrior. Dia means champion or winner. And Chinyelu means invincible. Now, when I took these words from the Swahili language to put them in context, we put principles behind them. So it would be Kwisi, the strength of thousands of ancestors. Changa, the hardness or firmness of mind. Sekou, the fighter, determined to meet all challenges. And this is not a dare. Dia, the champion in all of life's experiences. And Chinyelu, the invincible spirit that is always victorious.
Wow.
So those 5 principles is what we use in this art form called Sekou Chinyelu.
Wow, you got to be all that, brother, at least. So I'm gonna give you your props while I'm able.
Yes, sir.
And you deserve it, brother. And I really appreciate you. Time is moving, but at the same time, I appreciate all of that you shared with us because every time we think of martial arts, we think about these light-skinned, slanted-eyed people.
Yes.
And that's the illusion.
That's an illusion.
Like you say, they're the ones that they admire us so much, they come in and sabotage us, and then they claim it.
And then they claim it. That's what it is. And the best way to claim something that doesn't belong to you is to sabotage it. That's the best way to claim something. Sabotage it. If it doesn't belong to you, sabotage it so you can claim it.
True.
Make it something confusing for someone else, but then after it's confusing to someone else, claim it and act like you clarified it.
Well, and that applies to all other people but us, towards us.
That's right. Yes, that is absolutely correct.
We are the original one, whatever, when it comes to divineness.
This is true. And, I think maybe just like the biblical Satan, the one thing that he hated was having somebody above him when he was commanded to be in that position in the first place. Bow down to this being that I've created and breathed into him of my spirit. Right then and there, you should know that if he breathed into his spirit of himself into us, then that was his command. That's what he should have done.
Excellent point.
Yeah.
Excellent. Brother, you just don't know how you have opened up my mind's eye to those things because a lot of people are afraid to really give the credit where credit is due.
Yeah.
They had taught us to hate ourselves so much that even though it is ours, we still kind of doubt it.
Yeah.
That's some heavy conditioning and some heavy programming.
It is seriously heavy.
Some heavy hate, self-hate.
Dr. Sadiki, could you imagine, and this is just martial arts, for the mind, the African-American mind, to be able to accept that we have made such a great contribution to this planet, just martial arts now, we ain't talking about everything else. If we talk about everything else, we'd be here all night. But
at least.
but just imagine if they were able to conceive that kind of contribution and how we've contributed to such a great extent, it would change their thinking. Wow, we're capable of something like this. We did that, and that's just this.
True.
You know, and if you spread it out across the board, it took that same kind of mind, that same kind of initiative, that same kind of drive to do everything else. And if they say that we were kings and queens back then, we would reclaim that status if we understood our contributions to humanity.
Woo! Woo! You said at least a mouthful there, brother. And we can carry that in every area. But like you said, we are emphasizing martial arts. But you can carry that thing into every area. Because we are the originators of everything that's divine. We are the divine. Not only that we are the only beings that can bear witness that there's God. There's a God because of our intelligence.
Because of our intelligence, it is an innate character in our existence. This is why we're always inclined to it, more so than anybody else, you know. And we have spiritual natures, and we seemingly have one of the most phenomenal forgiving natures of any human being on this planet, which a lot of times gets us in trouble, you know. But that is of the spirit that we have been breathed into. So I mean, yeah, we, you know, if we understood that this, you know, it's a heavy burden being the parents of humanity when you have rebellious children that do, you know, they feel themselves beneath. And they don't want to have that as a burden, which is not a burden. And then, you know, we're not people that we're not like most who have this superiority complex. We're not like most that have that superiority complex. That's why we're where we are, you know, and that's why it belongs that way. But everybody else have to practice a superiority in order to feel their importance. But we don't have to do it. Especially when you know who you are, you can never be lost.
So and those some excellent, sharp, you know, moves that you just made. You can beat somebody. You can see you beating people up without even touching them.
Yes.
So with that in mind, brother. What do you see as a solution to our youth, you know, to understand, you know, that we have birthrights?
Oh.
So how can we relay that, and what age should we start that with our children?
Oh my gosh. From birth, if possible. You know, when I get youngsters into my class, and let me emphasize that wasn't humor. From birth, if possible, was very serious. You know, and whenever I get individuals in my class, I usually take them from 12 and up. 12 being the age of acuity, when acuity really starts. And when we come in, they're not just learning martial arts. They're learning the philosophy of self. You know what I mean? Because if you don't have the philosophy of self, the understanding of self, you can't apply martial arts in any kind of beneficial way to you. It'll be nothing more than an exercise, you know. Right. And in martial arts, it's not something that gets in the way. You know, it's a part of what you do. It's a part of your life's experience, you know.
It's a discipline.
It's a discipline. It's not something that's oh, this is extra, I do too much already. No, it's, you know, if you like to walk, then you should train. if you like to lift weights, then maybe you should train. If you like to run or jog or box, well, that's martial arts too. So but I think that at the age of where a child can listen, that's early. We know children are like sponges. So it is best to exemplify their actions, meaning that how you want them to act, exemplify that in your own behavior. How do you want them to speak? Exemplify that in your own speaking. How do you want them to think? Exemplify that in your thinking. These things has to be transmitted to them by example. We are their examples. So whenever they come into my class, that's my whole thing right there. If they see Grandmaster, if they see this he's sharp, then that's what I want to exemplify, and that's how I want them to be when they walk out the door and when they come back into the door.
Well, what is your thanks for sharing that, and that's right on time.
Yes.
I know that a lot of our leaders were groomed while they were in the womb.
Oh, yes, they were. Yes, they were. Yes, they were. Wow.
Like Nat Turner and all of them,
I was thinking about that. I even look back at the history of Malcolm X. His mother, even though she had some challenges, she had a good soul. She was a serious entity for him, for his true nurturing. That's a womb that was truly reverenced. His father did a great job in giving him the stern character that he needed to have. So you're right. It's in the womb. So in this point of exemplification, the saying, you cannot take care of anyone unless you take care of yourself first. You see? So
it starts at home, and we're not talking about no building either. We talking about this.
Oh, yes. That mind is a powerful thing, and it works in accord with the heart. The heart being the seat of intellect, the seat of affection and intelligence. The mind, the thinking tool that helps, and they reciprocate and trade these things off and build all of the proper actions, works, and deeds. Yes, that's where it starts.
The invisible will become visible.
Oh, that is true. Yeah. Yes, I'm talking to a very wise, brother here. You know what I'm
saying? Hey, energy recognizes energy. It take one to know one.
Yes, I heard that when you first came on. That really stuck with me too. Yes, sir.
Yeah. We appreciate you, brother. We have a few more minutes left, and brother, it's truly an honor. I know a lot of people say things, it's a scripted thing. See, I never deal with scripts.
Right.
Because we're real people. We're into feeling one another.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
In other words, I don't have to know you to know you.
Listen, we got 5 minutes. when I saw you and I heard your voice and I saw your face, I'm like, yes, I can see this here. I can see this energy. This is good. And I'll tell you, you also made it easy and comfortable for me to express and to converse and share, all of these things, man, straight from the heart. So I appreciate you. I do.
Oh man, I appreciate you too, brother.
Yeah.
You don't know how much I appreciate you.
Yeah.
So we on that same path, brother.
Yes.
You got many offshoots. You got many branches to a tree, but it's still part of the same tree.
That's right. That's right. Starts at the root.
We got to get deep again. You know what I mean?
Right.
We used to be deep divers and deep rooted people, but something happened, and then we became shallow rooted and shallow divers. And that means that anything comes along, it blows us all over the place.
Wow, wow,
We got to
wow.
speak again, and we have to go back to what you said and honoring and reverencing the ancestors. That's the
Yeah,
key.
yeah, that's an important key. You know, it tells you where you came from, so it can help you to understand where you got to go.
That's right. And you can always call on them whenever you need it because it's all energy.
It is. It is. Yeah, and they are excellent examples of our future progress. Which is why, like I said, the five stages and principles that I have in this art form, it is in reference to that.
Oh, that's beautiful. Every generation should get better. In other words, we should be a better version of the ones before us. In other
Yes,
words, that stand on each other's shoulder. When they look at the totem pole, they cite us to believe that the one at the bottom is the weakest one. How can that be the weakest one when he's carrying everybody? Oh wow, what happened? What
Oh,
happened, Queen?
I'm sure he lost his connection. So we will wait a few minutes and see if he logs back on. In the meantime, it is so good to hear someone tell our actual history of the martial arts because so many people have no idea the contributions that we made to the world. So I
True.
think it's an excellent uh, evidence of who we were as a people, who we are as a people. So
That's
I
it.
really thank Grandmaster Azim for coming on and sharing that with us. And we have to also remember that Black people were on this planet 400 years before a white person appeared. And that during that
400.
time, think of the things, think of the things that we created. We're the
You better
originators of everything. We're the explorers of everything.
you need to add some more zeros to that 400. So my thing is, look, if we're Alpha and Omega, there's no way possible we can find the beginning, and there's definitely no end.
Right.
So we are
That's
all
true.
that.
Exactly.
We are the beginning
Yeah.
and the end. No matter
Mm-hmm.
how far
Yeah.
you go back, still, you know what I
Right.
mean. There is no beginning. We were. It was all. It always was, and always will be.
Yes, exactly.
And I pray that the brother can
Yes.
come back on
Yes.
so that we can hear his last words and to find out how we can contact him and support, his efforts. You know,
Uh-huh.
he's a good he's a good brother, and he's earned the right to be called a master. Because first and foremost, he's a master at thinking, and everything else comes later.
Exactly. Can you? Mm-hmm. Yeah. That just shows
Because
how great we are at such a early age.
in spite of all the
Yeah.
hell
Such.
that we've gone through, we are the miracle. This is what I'll be telling. We are the miracle. There is no such thing as a
Yes,
miracle
we
without a
are.
black woman. That's right. We are the
Right.
miracle. So
Mm-hmm.
I pray that the brother can get back on, so that we can
Yeah. We're here.
hear his final words. We need to
Yeah.
hear his final words, and we need to hear how we can get
Mm-hmm.
involved with his master program, where
Yeah.
we
And
need
pass it on to others so they'll know to start early and training yourself.
right, and we can have a better balance.
And if any see, yes, he just got the message. He will be logging back on.
Good, good,
Yeah, so
good.
this is great. This is one of the things that we must always remember. We were the first at everything. We are the first explorers of every land. We are the first indigenous people of every land. That was already done. The pyramids were already built. I mean, everything was already there before the white man even came.
That's right.
So
That's
we need
why
to
wherever
honor
he
our
go, we
heritage
already
in every way possible and teach that.
true. True, true. Wherever they,
Exactly. And so
wherever
instead of
them white,
saying, we're black, African Americans,
yeah,
yeah,
wherever
I think
they.
it's important to say that we are indigenous people.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, I can.
yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Well, we need to understand that we are the original, and you can't get no better than original. Everything and everybody else came later. Now, if there's nothing new under the
And that's
sun,
of every land.
yeah, exactly. If there's
Right.
nothing new under the sun, then that means that you know, look in the mirror and you'll see the original. That's why I tell
Right.
people you see two things. You see your image, personal image, and you see the
Exactly.
image likeness of God.
Right.
Because if I'm a
Exactly.
child of God, then what does that make me? Come on now. Let's get real.
Thank you. All right. Be smart.
We ain't got to get
Mhm.
spooked up about that. And we ain't got to allow religion to dummy us down, and
Right.
divide us up and all of this. And I got the only answer kind
Right.
of nonsense. Yeah. All of them got answers. So why can't we come together? You know what I mean? Share the answers so that we can get where
Right.
we're going quick.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
it's all about
Yeah.
balance. Everything is about balance. So in spite of all the hell, some of us
Hmm.
still found a way
Yeah.
to
Yes.
tap into the balance. And so we are the examples.
Yes. And
You know,
it just,
go ahead.
yeah, if anyone is interested in classes with the Grand Master, Azim, here we go. He's coming back on now. Azim Jordan, contact the Albury Recreation Center, and that's located at 6101 Artley Street, Philadelphia 19138. And that phone number is 215-685-2893.
And that's in
And
German.
that's 215-685. Yes, it's in Germantown. Here we go. Uh, I was just giving the address and phone number. That phone number is 215-685-2895. And that's at the Albury Recreation Center at 6101 Hartley Street here in Philadelphia.
In
So,
Germantown.
one of the things I want to ask Grandmaster, do you have any plans to spread this in a nationwide periphery? Because I think that's something every Black person should be aware of. We created this. This is a Black thing, and we need to understand
Yes.
that.
I actually, it's funny.
Great.
Even some of my students. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, excuse me. Yeah, I had a few of my students, some of my instructors. They wanted to do a book and had it pretty much put all over the place, to do a autobiography and a book for how Sekou Chinedu came into being, the process and whatnot. And I have not yet gotten to it, but I had intentions on doing something of that degree, but it's taking a bit. It's taking a bit of time. I think maybe I might have to get a biographer to help me with that one.
Well, you have to be more intentional with your time.
Oh, yes, indeed. That's a fact. That most certainly is a fact. Yes, indeed.
And I also want to offer
Go ahead, Queen.
Yeah, I just want to offer my assistance. I am a publisher, and I teach writing, and I help people develop books. So if you need any help, I can speed you along that process. very critical that we get this information out to everyone, because like you are a creator of a martial arts system, so that's something
Yeah.
you must honor and pass along. So the
Yeah.
other people, another perfect line said they did it. You have to brand it. So give me a call, let's talk about that.
Yeah, I did get somewhat sort of a lecture from my own students on that particular issue. You know, yeah.
That's
Good,
beautiful, brother.
good.
Hey, we need,
Yeah, they need to
Borderline
be on here on that.
yeah, we need you. We need for you to document your journey. So,
Yes.
because that's your legacy.
Yes.
You see what
Yes.
I mean? And we have to be careful, because right now is all we got. Yesterday was history. Tomorrow's a mystery. So right now is all we got. So if you don't do anything, brother, but jot some things down as you go along, you don't have to sit down and spend hours and hours. Just
Yeah.
jot some things down, put a date on there so you'll know what your mindset was at that time.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's actually a good idea. You know, I think one of the closest things to autobiographical, however you say it, process, the autobiography process.
They say speak correct English.
Was when my first instructor actually established the Seikuchinyelu Facebook page, and we had the reunion seminar. The reunion seminar was for all of the what I call seniors in the class. You get up to a certain point of instruction where you accomplish what we call the four basics. Once they accomplish these four basics, then they take a test for a badge. And mind you, that's where the real training begins. But anyway, all of these students were gathered at a seminar, and that would be on the Facebook page. So in the seminar, there's a lot of the history and biographical things that were said, and I think that was an attempt also to gear towards trying to establish some sort of book notes of some sorts. But yeah, I just got to get with the program.
Well, I expect to hear. Yes. Yes. Okay. Well, it has been a pleasure, and I want to thank you for being on the show.
Oh, it was.
We want to encourage you also, brother, to focus on that, spend a little bit more time, if it's nothing but a half an hour or 15 minutes during the day, because by nature we are talented people.
Oh yeah.
We always have more than one talent, and I understand you're a musician at the same time, because I know you about rhythm there, brother. So
yes.
Martial arts was boxing. I originally came up here from Virginia to play football at Temple, but I ended up also. We started the first boxing team at Temple University.
Wow.
So, and it kind of faded after I graduated. Once we graduated, it kind of faded, but we watched other colleges and stuff like that. So I love contact sports, even though I didn't have the real techniques, the skills. I had raw ability.
Abilities. Yeah, that's
in life. You know what I mean?
That's part of the warrior makeup. That's innate. That's part of your makeup. So yeah, I mean, even if you were to go back and hit a bag or two or throw a couple of jabs, it would still be innately there, because it's part of your physiological makeup as well. Physiological, spiritual, So the internal warrior, it only goes when we go. That's it.
Excellent point.
Yeah.
Brother, let me say this. Our time is about up. I'd like to ask you a question of the importance of each individual having some type of defense mechanism that's going on within them. What is the importance of having a defense or having those kind of arts in order to defend yourself?
Well, that's a key word. Some would say self-defense. I take it maybe a step further and say self-preservation, and maybe to the degree that it would be helpful to those who are walking beside you, you know, meaning your family, you know. So it's always good to be able to have that. And in some instances, you know, contrary to popular violent beliefs, it's also a diffuser. It can be a diffuser where it is something that's used to a degree to prevent something further from happening. You know, I've had a couple of experiences, one or two or so, where just a move or two just made them aware that that wasn't the course to take, you know? And, you know, you know, the climate today where, you know, we have a whole lot of false, I call it false confidence, false bravery, and deception, self-deception, where the order of the day is people who are not licensed to carry firearms and things of that nature. They're doing it anyway, you know. I guess it would be okay if their intent and their souls weren't soiled. You know what I mean? That's a difference, you know. So, you know, I always try to let my students know that the physical aspect is really kind of a last resort. You know, if you have an intellect and you are good with your speech, and something that we need to practice on a daily basis, you know, you can diffuse it that way, you know, in these situation circumstances. Now, not everybody is rational and not everybody is logical, you know. Sometimes it takes, you know, us to be even more brave not to do something than to do it, you know. And then it can be easily mistaken for cowardice when that is not the case at all, you know. But we should be able to have these mechanisms in place where we can have self-preservation. All of those things apply, whether it's the physical capacity or ability, or the ability to be verbally strategic, you know. Yeah. So it really matters, you know. Yeah, I think that's definitely important.
Yes, sir. Well, It's all about balance, as we know. Everything is about balance.
Yeah. Yes, of course. You know, yeah.
And they kind of tilted us to one side or the other, and that's why our ancestors were extremely spiritual when they created the scale.
Oh,
the scale represents balance. You know.
Yeah, they knew what they were doing.
They knew what they was doing, brother. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
They were already balanced.
They had to be balanced to even come up with that.
Right. Yeah, look, that's what made them come up with it in the first place. They say, "Oh, wait a minute, this feels right. Let me create something so that they can see what I'm talking about."
So the scale is evidence of what's going on the inside.
That is right.
The invisible will become visible.
The visible.
Everything starts from within out, not out in.
Point. Excellent point.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, brother, we want to give you the last word, brother, and to get them where they can reach you or attend your class.
Yes. Again, the name of the art form is called Seku Chinyelu. It's Swahili for Invincible Warriors. and it is at 6101 Ardley Street. That would be between Haynes and Washington Lane and the West Oak Lane section of the city at Albury Recreation Center. That's Albury.
Part of the city is that?
Yes, that would be West Oak Lane, the West Oak Lane section of the city. As a matter of fact, it's behind Martin Luther King High School,
right.
Next to the old Ada Lewis Middle School. Yeah, across the street from the Albury Arboretum.
Mm.
So, it should be easy to find. Plenty of parking, but space is limited. I can only get about 20 at one time,
Right.
So, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Hey, brother. Well, we appreciate you, brother. And, it's always, sometimes the road look kind of lonely. It seems kind of lonely at times.
Right. Yes.
But the key is that as you move forward, you will run into yourself.
Oh.
Another mind.
Oh, yours. Yeah.
You know what I mean? You will run into yourself, and that's what you call meeting at the crossroad.
Oh, yeah.
It came from the concept of the cross. See, when you're at the crossroad, then you can go north, south, east, or west.
You have a choice to make now.
Yes, sir. And then if you're then when you're perpendicular, that's 90 degrees, right?
Right.
So if there's north, south, east, and west, multiply 90 by 4.
That's a whole circle.
Sound like 360 to me.
That's a whole circle. That's the whole circle.
It's a whole circle.
The whole circle.
The whole circle.
You started at one point, and you reached the same point. That's right.
What goes around comes around.
Ooh, that's how. That's right.
That's why we got to come out of the box, brother. The box. Anywhere you move in a box, there's a dead end.
That's correct.
No matter where you move. But when you come out of the box and get on the 360, you just keep it moving. A lot of people are afraid of it because they feel comfortable in that box.
Right. You're right. That's true.
But yet they want to claim they all that. So we're operating on a lot of illusions that were given to us, that were forced on us. You know what I mean? And we have to make sure that our learning comes from our perspective, even though we go on to schools for somebody else. You can't expect them. If they are snakes, you can't. I don't care how much you pray to God. God tell that snake stop being a snake. God say, I didn't make no mistake. The snake has its purpose. You better learn.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. Ain't no mistakes. He makes no mistakes, and he's incapable of making intentional mistakes.
How about that? That's true, brother. That's true. Good, excellent point.
Yeah.
And that's where we should be striving for. We should, and while we are off because we turned our backs on our forefathers, we got to find a way to get back. That was the purpose of religion. There was no purpose. There was no reason for religion originally, because we were spiritual. Religion is just something that gives you a roadmap to get back to your reality. But we got these guys in the pulpit that they are part of the problem too.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, it's definitely a roadmap. Yeah.
And so we have to be more wise, and we have to be more intentional with everything we do, because we are 500 years behind and we don't have the kind of leverage that everybody else have. So we have to stay on top of our game and not take nothing for granted.
Right. This is true.
Especially each other. Don't take each other for granted.
Especially each other. Yeah. That's one of our biggest downfalls.
Go ahead.
One of our biggest downfalls.
It is. Because all of us got the same enemy. So what's the problem? And we got to say, well, all of them not bad. Well, if a snake is a snake, it doesn't matter about the bad. If a snake is a snake, a snake is a snake. We have to understand the nature of things instead of with this physical I. We got to go deeper than that.
Yeah.
Remember I was saying we used to be deep-rooted people? We got to go back to that.
Yeah. Yeah. Spiritual thinkers.
There you go, brother. Because we are more than human. A lot of people say, I'm just human. I say, well, I'm glad you're speaking for yourself, because we are more than human. We are spiritual first.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we just transformed into the human. So
that's
the mind can transform into being anything it chooses.
Yeah, that's one aspect. The human part is just one aspect.
True.
We're multi-dimensional. So
True.
we understand that we have more to work with. Broader we understand it. The broader our understanding, we have more to work with.
That's right. And the more respect we'll have for ourselves and to give to others.
Right.
It looks like
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, brother, this has been an honor and a privilege, brother, to have you on, Warrior. Like I always say, I finally met myself.
Yeah. Yes. I so have I. Yes, indeed.
I'd like to encourage you to continue on, brother, and anything we can do to enhance your journey, then that's what it's all about.
Well, I'm glad.
Relationship.
Yes. Well, I definitely was. It was an honor to be able to express all of this and share, like I said, and it was a wonderful experience, enlightening, cathartic, and inspiring.
That's beautiful, brother. And like I always do before we get off, I can't see. I give raw food for thought. That's one of my books. The title of one of my books is Raw Food for Thought.
Right.
So when we got to tell it like it is, we got to go old school.
You know?
But my thing is that there's four main elements that is in the universe. I didn't say all. There's four main elements in the universe. There's hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, and carbon. That's my book there. Now,
yes,
sir. Now, when you look at the black man and the black woman, their makeup is what? Hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, and carbon. So what does that indicate? That indicates that we are the universe. We are the universe as this form of what we call a human.
Right.
I mean, so they say the sky's the limit. I say, well, that is limit. We are the universe.
You're right. Yeah.
There is no limit when it comes to the universe.
You could try as hard as you want. You ain't gonna reach no ceiling up there.
Ain't no such thing, brother.
Won't reach no ceiling.
Not at all. So that's a beautiful thing, brother. And here's the miracle part about us, that we still, in spite of it all, we still can smile and we still can laugh when we're in each other's presence.
Yeah.
We're not laughing just to laugh or smile just to smile. It's that we're feeling good being in each other's presence.
Yeah, and that is something I think that that's the essential of a people. It is what helps it's part of the comfort of humanity, of our humanity. It's the comfort of our society to be able to have that camaraderie, that laughter, and it is what you feel, what's reciprocated from one of us to the other. You know what I mean? I think if we had more of that, I think, to share amongst our people. And look, everybody now is so angry and frustrated and this and that. It is the imbalance of all of the toxic things that they're practicing from themselves, as opposed to all of the things that promotes the spiritual well-being, the health. You know what I mean? So, yeah, we definitely need more of that.
Hey, and the black men have to lead the way.
Yeah, I'm still striving to do my part.
Brother, you're doing it, but there's always room for better.
Always. In my class, listen, in my class, you just hit an extremely interesting point. I ask my students, I say, well, what's first? I said, you have good, better, best. I said, what's the context? What's the arrangement of that? How is that supposed to be? They said, well, yeah, it's good, better, best. I say, no, it's not good, better, best. I said, it's good, it's best, and then it's better. Better.
You're the only one besides me that I ever heard that, because I always say that. They tricked us and they lied to us again.
That's right. Better is more perpetual. If you have someone who you say, hey, look, I did this job, and you say to them, hey, look, I did my best with that thing. I did my best. And they go and look at it and go, yeah, you did pretty good, but you think you could have been better?
Hey, that's right, brother. And better means there's always room for more.
That's right. It's perpetual.
That's right.
It is perpetual.
It's you at your end. So
right.
Sometimes your best is not good enough. So what should you do? Do better. So
that's right.
My common sense God-given senses tell me that better is always at the top.
Better is always at the top. That is so true. Always.
You can fool some of the people some of the time, but some people you can't fool at all.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, especially when you come from an ancestral perspective.
Right.
So with that in mind, brother, I'd like to thank the listening audience for tuning in and to acknowledging you, because you are definitely worthy. And I thank the Creator for you and the ancestors for you. And I like to say this for us to continue to stay strong and keep our faith where it belongs. Because life is for the living. Let the dead bury the dead.
That's right.
Not only that, do your best and let God do the rest. You got to know when to hold and know when to fold. How do you know when to hold and when to fold? You have to have a sharp discerning spirit to know the difference, so you won't be using emotions.
Right. That's right.
So with that in mind, family, we got to embrace one another. Right thinking, right giving, and right eating is holistic living. Let me say that again. Right thinking, right giving, and right eating is holistic living. That's the pyramid. So with the eye of the Creator in the middle. So family, we are all that. We are more than human. We are spiritual first. Let the other ones say that they are only human, because there's no competition when it comes to us. You know, we look at them always like, man, get that little childish stuff out of here. So we are way beyond that. So with that in mind, family, I'd like to thank you for tuning in, send your prayers and your acknowledgments to the brother in the air, in the universe. And so it'll manifest in the brother to be a better example. He's already an example, but we want to be the better of the better. So we got to keep on growing and keep on learning. Can't go wrong if you keep on growing and keep on learning. Now, keep in mind that learning can be painful.
Sure.
But guess what? You can't beat the blessings. So with that in mind, family, this is Dr. Sadiki Che Baye, your servant, your host of the Men's Room. And we'd like to thank our warrior, our grand master, the master of the masters, Brother Hazim, for giving us the honor to even acknowledge him, because that's a big thing. When you're honoring and acknowledging, it goes right back to you. So we got to go ahead on and give it up and act like we know. So with that in mind, brother, let's keep in contact, brother. I like to continue to support you the best way I can. I'm already an author and a writer. I have 3 books. My first one was People Power. It's called. The second one was Raw Food for thought. Raw food for thought. My second one. My third one is it seems to me the things that we should be acknowledging, because things can look one way, but all along it's something else. Because we have been deceived. So family, with that in mind, let us move forward. Let us move forward.
Not always as they appear.
That's right. Let's lock arms and let's move forward and make sure that the little us with the children are the little us. So let us make give them a better chance, than we had. Never let yourself down, family, because the children are us. They the little us, and we have to prepare them to carry the torch. And not only that, pass the wheel on to them so they can start building the cart instead of every generation discovering the wheel. Pass the wheel on so they can start building the cart to the wheel, so that we can move forward. Yes, sir. But brother, thank you once again. I can't thank you enough, brother. May the Creator and the ancestors continue to lead, guide, direct, protect you along the way.
Yes. Yes, you as well, my friend. You as well, my brother.